Welcome. In this explainer, we are going to break down exactly what you need to know about Excel formulas to absolutely ace your ICT exams. We're going to skip all the fluff and get right to the rules that you have to know to get those top marks. So let's start with a situation that is, well, every student's worst nightmare. You've done all the work, all your final calculations are perfectly correct, but you get a big fat 0 for that task. How is that even possible? We're going to find out exactly why that happens and, way more importantly, how to make sure it never ever happens to you. All right, so here is our game plan for today. We're going to start with why Excel basically has its own language. Then we'll get into the power of cell references and cover the key functions you just have to know. From there, we'll look at why showing your work is everything. And finally, we'll tackle some of those common errors that can cause a bit of a panic on exam day. First things first, and you really have to get your head around this one. Excel is not your math textbook. It does not play by the rules of written mathematics. It follows the strict, logical rules of a computer program. You know, this looks simple, but it is so important. In math, you'd use the x for multiply and the divide for divide, right? Well, in Excel, you have to use the asterisk for multiplication and the / for division. The only one that actually stays the same is the good old hyphen for subtraction. It's a tiny change, but it makes all the difference. So what happens if you're in an exam, the pressure is on, and you just forget? You type what feels totally natural, using the X key to multiply. Well, bam, you get this thing, the dreaded #name error. Now, this isn't Excel just being difficult. It's actually trying to tell you something very specific. And here's what that weird error is actually saying. When you see #name dot, it's Excel telling you, I have no idea what X is. It's looking for a function called X, not an instruction to multiply. This is rule number 1. You've got to speak Excel's language. All right, so we know the right operators. Let's move on to the second golden rule. Honestly, this one mistake costs students so many marks. And the rule is never, ever type numbers directly into a formula if that number is already sitting somewhere in your worksheet. Instead of the numbers, we use something called a cell reference. Just think of it like coordinates on a map, like in a game of Battleship. You're not telling Excel the value is 150. You're telling it to go look in cell B2 and grab whatever value it finds there. I mean, just look at the difference here. Typing equals 150 times 0.2 gives you a static one-time answer. It's locked in, it's done. But using equals B2 times C2, well, that creates a dynamic link. So what does that mean? It means if the number in B2 or C2 changes later, your answer will automatically update. That is the real magic of a spreadsheet. And here's the bottom line. It's not just about working smarter. The examiners are specifically looking for you to use cell references. They are testing if you know how to build a proper, working spreadsheet. If you don't use them, you will lose marks. Simple as that, even if your final number is correct. Okay, so we've got our operators down, we've got cell references. Now it's time to level up to functions. Think of these as Excel's built-in power tools that do the complex calculations for you. To put it simply, a function is just a named recipe for a calculation. Instead of typing out all the individual steps, you just use the function's name, like sum, and tell it what ingredients or which cells you want it to use. And this is where you can really see their power. Imagine you have to multiply, say, 50 different cells together. Typing each one out would be a total nightmare, and it's so easy to miss one. But with the product function, you just tell it the range of cells. Here, it's A1 to A5, and it does all the heavy lifting for you. It's cleaner, it's faster, and it's way less likely you'll make a mistake. Now, you really need to pay attention to this because it's a huge clue about what examiners are looking for. They won't just ask you to write a formula. A lot of the time, they'll give you one like this and ask you to explain, in your own words, what it's actually doing. They're testing your understanding of the tools, not just if you can type them. So, for any ICT practical exam, these 4 functions right here are your absolute bread and butter. You've got sum for adding things up, average for finding the mean, and max and min to instantly find the biggest and smallest numbers in a huge list of data. You need to know these inside and out. And this brings us right back to that question from the start. How can the right answer get you 0 marks? Well, the answer is all about proving how you got that answer. And this is absolutely non-negotiable on exam day. This isn't just a friendly suggestion. This is a direct command from a real Pearson Edexcel exam paper. Look at that wording, showing the functions and formulae. They are telling you, word for word, what they need to see to give you any marks. See, on the left, that's the normal values view. It's the final answer. But on the right, that is the formula view, and that is your proof. It's the evidence you show the examiner that you use the right methods, the right cell references, the right functions. This is what they mark. If they ask for the formula view and you give them the values view, you're getting a 0. It's that simple. And here is your exam day lifesaver. You don't need to hunt through menus for this. Just press the Ctrl key and the backtick key. That's that little squiggly one, usually next to the number 1 on your keyboard. It'll instantly switch between the two views. Finally, let's talk about something that causes a lot of panic, but really shouldn't. You've written a perfect formula, you press enter, and the cell just fills up with what looks like a crazy error message. If you see a cell full of these hash signs, just take a deep breath. It is almost never a problem with your math. It's just Excel's polite little way of saying, hey, I can't quite fit this big, awesome number in the tiny little space you've given me. And the fix for this takes like 1 second. Just move your mouse up to the top of the column, right to the line between that column's letter and the next one. When your cursor changes into that little double-sided arrow, just double-click. Boom. Excel automatically resizes the column perfectly for you. So let's wrap it all up. This right here is your exam day mantra. Every formula starts with an equal sign. Use the right operators and always use cell references. Use functions to work faster and smarter. Show your formulas when they ask. And don't you dare panic at the hash signs. You mastered these points, and you are going to be in fantastic shape for full marks. So remember, when you understand that Excel has its own language, you're doing way more than just cramming for an exam. You're actually learning to use an incredibly powerful tool that can analyze and solve real-world problems. The logic we've talked about today isn't just for spreadsheets. It's a skill that will help you out no matter what you go on to do.